I'm Jeremy, and I'm the staff SRE at LendingTree. I was the first SRE on staff there, and now lead a team of 3. We separate our DevOps from our SRE, which is kind of an interesting model. So we're constantly at odds with them, but I think in a good way. We interact a lot with marketing, with product, with QA, so we don't just exist inside of the tech stack at LendingTree. A little bit about what LendingTree is. We are the search engine for money. Mortgages, personal loans, auto, business, student loans. We exist in all those spaces. Google has tried to unseat us twice in the mortgage space. Both times, they've receded. The second time, they actually used our product to try to do it, and they just couldn't do it. It's kind of a real nice feeling. Our tech stack is real simple. A lot of legacy code in C# running under IIS. No surprise there. A lot of SQL Server on the back end. Starting to get into containerization, so C#. We've done a little bit of Node. We've done a little bit of Java, a little bit of PHP. So those are kind of peppered throughout our architecture. We are starting to move a lot towards Mongo. And yes, we actually still have a couple BizTalk 2008 clusters. Something just from a legacy standpoint we're trying to sunset, but oddly enough, we use Sumo to manage a lot of the alerting out of our BizTalk clusters, which is kind of an interesting use case for us because it's not normally what you would use Sumo for. 2 years ago, we ended up with that week of failure, right? That time when technology comes out and they say, we need to buy products to solve a problem. We had full hard drives on 2 production machines. We had a system that moves our leads from the front end into our back end processing, load balancer in between, 4 servers on the end of that load balancer. 1 service was down. Nobody knew. So 1 in 4 leads was getting lost. The system that was supposed to rectify that, go in and say, hey, things didn't go through, was down. We literally lost a quarter of our income 4 days. Couple that with our other BizTalk cluster being down. So you're sitting on four BizTalk servers that you know absolutely nothing about. Your BizTalk guy is left, and you're just holding on for dear life at that point. That's when we started thinking, hey, maybe this Sumo thing we bought might actually be able to help. We started throwing logs into Sumo, and before we did, we simply made less money. I mean, it's just that simple. We've tried a couple times to go the free method. This last time with Greylock. Greylock for me, it's fine, it's great that DevOps wants to do it. They're throwing Kubernetes data into Greylock 1-second intervals for CPU and memory usage. I don't get it either. I know most of you don't either. When my team has tried to log into Greylock in the last month, stood up by our DevOps team, 3 out of 4 times, we weren't able to get in. The system was down. At that point, there is no way I'm going to use that to protect the revenue streams at LendingTree. Whenever we talk about these free services, what we found is like running Kubernetes logs in 1-second intervals. You're sitting there and you're saying, oh, it's free. But the AWS bill isn't free, right? The time you take to tech that isn't free. And you spend a whole lot of time in Google because you have no expert on staff that knows anything about Elastic. The simple truth for me is that a single bad commit in a homebrew alerting and monitoring system, a bad configuration to our Elastic cluster, a long-running query that continually times out, could cost us millions in revenue. LendingTree at peak times, $5,000 a minute of revenue. 20 minutes, it's $100,000. An hour, that's $300,000. Remember when S3 went down? $250,000 at LendingTree. And it didn't affect all of our systems. We're talking about real money. For me, the risk is just not worth it to look at these open source systems unless I've actually got a staff of Elastic engineers or a staff of people who can make sure everything's running right. So a little bit about LendingTree. We are revenue, not SLA driven. All of our revenue models say we are going to be up 100% of the time. And if that don't scare the bejesus out of you, I don't know what will. So what we do for that is we make sure that we are watching things and know what is going to cost us the most money in downtime. Let's face it, the little search button on the front of your website probably isn't a high priority item when it goes down. Regardless of what the SLA is, I've got better things to do with my time to make money. Oddly enough, Google would say when your SLA drops, you stop what you're doing, you make the system perform better, and then you continue development. At LendingTree, if we know a way that we can increase 2% more conversion in our funnel, and we have something that's costing us 0.5% of conversion, guess what? We're going to push the 2% thing to production because it's better in revenue, even with the loss. And a lot of times we'll push both together. So it's a lot different model at LendingTree because we are revenue focused and not SLA focused. So how do we apply Sumo to that? This is my favorite dashboard. This is number of offers coming in from lenders versus the median, not average, median offers coming in from lenders for the same time on the same day for the last 4 weeks. These little bars at the bottom, the higher they get, the larger the gap between the median and what we're doing now is. So the more red I see, the more worry I have that we're not meeting that target. When we measure things, imagine a steam plant. And imagine taking just 3 snapshots along the way where things are flowing. And looking at those here, here, and here. And just like metrics they were talking about this morning, I can use those numbers to determine that I've got a problem and now it's time to dig. That's what this is. This is my I've got a problem. So this is our lender response quantity compared to past performance. We look at forms completed by the customers against past performance. Customer clicks on specific pages, tells me whether things are rendering properly in the UI. Instances of displayed error pages, like when marketing decides to send $10,000 worth of traffic to a 404 page. Don't tell me it's never happened to any of you. aggregate queries allowing for a single at-a-glance system health, and special monitoring for high-value lenders and partners, which I think is one thing that a lot of us miss. The people making us the most money, unfortunately, sometimes they get the most attention. Revenue-driven model. We have one dashboard in SRE. We have a lot of dashboards at LendingTree. 13 monitors, 50-inch monitors all up around the tech area. This is the one display that I look at all the time. We aggregate a number of errors. Underneath of it, we graph those. That way I can see when the errors are starting to escalate, and also, more importantly, when they're starting to de-escalate over a 15-minute time period. So I know that the event looks like it might be over. And then at the bottom, obviously, we put our highest offenders in a list. We also do a couple other things. Areas where we know are problematic. Transmits to lenders. We deal with over 500 lenders. And I can tell you the integrations there. At least 2 of the guys who wrote integrations on their side have no clue what they're doing. I bet at least one was drunk when he wrote it. Welcome to technology. So sometimes they're not the best. Lenders go down. Our stuff goes down. When one lender goes down, it could cause an impact across the board to a lot of my other metrics. So we make sure to put this in a separate box. If this goes red, I know my offer clicks are going to go haywire as well. I know other things are going to look wrong. So by putting this up there, I know what else to look at. This is my dashboard. This is where Jeremy lives. There's not much here. There's a whole lot of information. Our new AWE enterprise processing systems up there. BizTalk here. Obviously, transmits to lenders are separate. NGNX. Anything NGNX. How about that? Just throw all your NGNX logs into one little box, and when it goes red, you start digging. Where do you dig? Listed there. Web traffic overall. MyLT, our MyLT application. Very, very complicated. When this thing goes red, it's normally in the 100 or 200,000 range. Generic application errors, offers, which is what's coming back from lenders, clicks on our front ends, crossed wires, which is where we're not displaying an offer to a lender, which is indicative of a number of other issues. And then obviously crossed wires unique. You'll see a few little blips here. It's normal for us to have 1 or 2 in an hour, which is why I've made this go to 50. That way when my CTO drops by and he says, Jeremy, why is that graph all red? I'm like, Paul, wait, it's 3 crossed wires in the last hour. That's within acceptable norms. I don't have to have that conversation with him anymore because it's not showing very much. So this is really handy to put things in context. And yes, my CTO comes by on a weekly basis and he runs dashboards at his desk and at home, and he will come by and say, Jeremy, why is there a spike? This is our AWE system that we launched last year to replace BizTalk as we start moving products over to it. This dashboard was how we knew that our launch was successful. We built it out, very simple, one screen, put it up on the big screen in the big conference room, and we just looked at it. Most successful launch I've ever seen. I would like to say it's because of me. It's not. But at least I made it look good. Speaking of making it look good, a little tip. Know somebody in creative to help you make your slides. Always helps. Cool things we're doing with Sumo. Remember I said one day we spent $10,000 on 404 errors? Not kidding. Now anytime we get a 404 error and that URL says CNAME, which is how we denote traffic, we send an email to marketing. And we get a copy of it too, but I send it right over to marketing. And if we get a number of these and it gets big enough, it goes to the CMO. And Brad, our CMO, asked for it because he wanted to know if this is 3 hours out and we're having that problem and no one's solving it on his team, he wants to know whose butt he needs to go chew. We have third-party vendors that we use. I literally have one that is so horrible. When I start getting alerting, it sends an email to their support ticket email address. It automatically opens a ticket. Cool thing about Sumo Alerts, they got that little part in there. You can put the little note in there, right? I've got their number in there too, so when I get it, can hit it on my phone, call them. By the time I've called them, it's been 2 to 4 minutes that ticket's been open, and I can say, dude, I've already opened a ticket. What are you doing for me now? We have specific alerts for our largest volume lenders, and we actually have some vendors who sit in between us and lenders. So we'll have things traversing through Mortec or different pricing engines, and then on the other side of their systems, going to the lender. And so when they go down, we're immediately alerted, and we also alert some of those customers as well, so that they can go to Mortec and say, hey, what's going on? We track our API usage by certain partners. Very simple, right? Volume over what they're doing. We monitor for image 404s. It's one of my favorite. We send it to the content team. Hey, your WordPress article may not look as pretty as you think it is because you're missing something. We also aggregate, we're looking to aggregate website information, flow and funnel activity, and start importing it into Salesforce for one of our newly acquired companies because they run everything in Salesforce. But by giving them a look at what came in through the website, now they can aggregate and look at that sales information, including the activity on the web page. A couple of cool tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. Monitor your source categories for removal and addition. DevOps is notorious for throwing things out there and not telling us. By having a simple query that runs every 24 hours that says, show me all your source categories and do a time compare with 24 hours before that and give me a count of those and tell me which ones don't look right, I can detect new source categories going into production. I can also detect which ones are leaving production. Automatically send pages on critical errors like, and I'm embarrassed to say it, out of disk errors in event logs. And yes, it happens at LendingTree, and I have to go bug DevOps, who's like, oh, we've got Sensu everywhere. Yeah, okay. I prefer a median instead of an average because it allows me to look at the numbers absent of activity which is not normal. And that could be an outage, that could be the day before Memorial Day, that could be Memorial Day, Christmas, whatever. By looking at a median of 4 different dates instead of an average, I take those outliers out and I get a better look at what's going on. We use colors on dashboards, and we have a lot of them. High up, very visible. You going to get coffee, come back, your dashboard is red? Yeah, you're making a beeline for your desk pretty hard. Everything's green, you feel pretty good. right? So having that visualization immediately sparks that, wow, I've got to fix something. Bookmark your favorite dashboard URLs. So on my computer, instead of having to log into Sumo, we whitelist a lot of our dashboards using the whitelist IP addresses. And that allows me to have a little link that just says SRE. I don't have to log into Sumo. I don't have to do anything other than pick up my laptop and click a button. Bam, there's my dashboard. And when you're talking about $5,000 a minute, saving 3 minutes on a disaster and getting DevOps engaged 3 minutes faster saves us $15,000. A lot of money. Encourage watching dashboards after deployments to monitor new code in production. We are very heavy on developers' usage of Sumo. Remember the 3 penguins, 30,000 penguin analogy this morning? That's Lending Tree. I take this a step farther. I'm a big Dale Carnegie fan. That's why I have social skills as an engineer. And I will go out of my way to go visit a developer who has posted in our other DevOps channel in Slack that there was a production issue. Because I want him to feel special. I want him to have his cookie. I want to make sure his manager knows. I want to make sure that we reinforce that. I will actively go out of my way to have that conversation with that person, and I will at times even not post in other DevOps if I see them starting to type, if I see them starting to react, so that I can make sure to tell them, hey, Greg, dude, you caught something before I did. That is bloody awesome, right? That level of encouragement not only makes Sumo used more, makes people watch it more, makes people feel better about it. When you see an error, ask first, is this revenue impacting? Is this customer impacting? And then act accordingly. We do at times have issues that come up in production. We will take our searches and we will say, where error does not equal this, and underscore, and they told me this the day while I was here, underscore message time less than 10/1/2018, which allows me to say this error message is okay to happen in production until the 2nd of October, allowing time for development to fix that problem, but reminding me on the 2nd of October, if they haven't, to go have another conversation with the team. Not all errors are going to be revenue impacting. Some are just going to be noise. This is the best strategy we've found to help kind of deal with that. We don't turn off searches. We just add these little exclusions. What's next for Lending Tree and Sumo? We struggle auditing our searches. Some are 2 years old. Some are on systems that don't exist anymore, source categories that have changed. I am excited about the content API. It allowed me to bring down all those searches and go, hey, this search says this source category. Is this source category still being used in production? If not, I've got a problem. Let me go fix that query. Automating the creation of alerts with code deployment. We currently, on some of our server farms, automatically generate the JSON that tells what we're ingesting, what the source category is, all of that information, drop it on the server when we drop new installations out there, and that's amazing. Imagine if I could generate alerts the same way. Integration of collected data with Salesforce for better tracking of users on the front end before they get dropped in as leads to Salesforce. And I want to take this a step further and actually drop all traffic in there using the metrics, using a a scheduled view. That way I can tell my people, hey, this is what's happening on your front end, and bring that data into a sales tool that actually has real ability to start tracking sales and trends. We probably do that in Sumo too, but if I put it in Salesforce, I don't have to do it. Questions?
Any questions for Jeremy? I've got the mic here.
So recruiting sent me with some swag. So if y'all want a keyboard, a keychain, or some pens, or they even got the real nice ones, notebooks, come up here and have them at will. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot here. I hope I get to come back next year. It's been really awesome. Thank you.